It's wild to think how fast time flies these days. We're wrapping up 2025 with our very last episode of the year. This is episode 261. It's wild to think that we've been doing it for this long. We got a fun guest for you. He's from Kentucky. We were talking beforehand. We could have just met up at one of the few chilly places around northern Kentucky, central Kentucky, and probably had a good time. But we're meeting on air for a good conversation. Let's welcome in. He's a singer-songwriter. His latest album, Decades, is out now. Jeremy Pinnell.
Hey.
Well, Jeremy, I appreciate you hopping on, and we'll get into your Kentucky roots here in a second. This is Bar Conversations. I know you behave yourself these days. I'm misbehaving a little bit tonight. You know, I don't have anything from Northern Kentucky. Somehow, I don't have New Riff or some of those, but I figured, I'd go with something that says one hell of a pick. Little Jay Mattingly double staved, which one hell of a pick.
Right.
I feel like that fits you pretty well. Now,
All right.
like I said, I know you behave yourself. So, what's your go-to guilty pleasure drink these days?
Um, I wish I knew the name of it. There's this chocolate milk I've been buying. It's this fancy chocolate milk. I buy the little pints, and they're like in this little glass bottles, and it's. I wish I knew the name, but I just don't care about stuff like that. I just,
You know where it's at the
milk's on
store.
the inside, bro.
I like it. I like it. Everyone's got their guilty pleasures. I also enjoy a good Coke Zero on a given day.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
You,
I
you
don't know
know,
why people go zero or they go diet. I've never understood that. I'm like, dude, none of it's good for you. You might as well just go straight Coca-Cola every time. It makes no
it's a lot
sense.
of sugar. It's a lot of sugar. I gotta cut it out somewhere.
Man, it's a lot. They just named something different in the Diet Coke, but it's in there.
That is true. I have heard that there are many bad things for us that we think are good for us. Now, as I
Yeah.
mentioned, this is our last episode before the new year. Are you one of those guys that does New Year's resolutions?
No, but I do this weird thing. I'll start like in November and just to be like, oh, I'm gonna do something different, but I'll start a couple months earlier and it makes me feel good about getting into the new year.
I
So,
like it. What
yeah.
what was it this year? What were you doing this year?
Just trying to be more disciplined. You know, do the things you need to do, get done the things you got to get done. So,
I like it. I like it. I have a to-do list or a honey-do list that tends to get a little long these days. So I probably need to,
yeah.
focus on that myself.
Yeah, depends on what you want to do, if you want to argue or not.
I'd rather not, or at least not get myself in too much trouble.
Don't be scared.
Now you grew up in Ellesmere in northern Kentucky. I think you
hmm
mentioned that you grew up or growing up in Kentucky gives you a certain work ethic. Has that work ethic translated into what you do musically and just who you are nowadays?
100%. I always think about that because I like my job and I like coming home. I like just the routine and I don't like, I just, but I've always been that way. I've always, worked and then playing music is the same way. You just keep your head down and you just do your thing. It's pretty simple. You just show up and you're the best employee, as long as you just keep showing up.
I was gonna say sadly, I feel like nowadays it is that simple. If you can show up and just do your job, you're a step ahead of everyone.
Well, I think especially in like the construction, that kind of you can move up pretty quick if you just show up. So
Now, for those that don't know, Northern Kentucky, right near Cincinnati, what impact did growing up there have on you too? Because I'm guessing, Cincinnati's a big area, a lot of shows come through, a lot of different people, a lot of different things up there. So what impact did, growing up where you did have on you?
uh this was a great area to grow up in. I think it was small enough to where I was able to understand what was going on around me most of the time, or whatever I was exposed to at that time. and it wasn't big enough at the time. It's starting to get. I'm sure you know if you come up this way ever, it's starting to get more crowded, you know. And but when I was younger, it wasn't like that, and there was a lot of cool music. I was always interested in going downtown. I wanted to go across the river into Cincinnati and go downtown, and because there was cool things. There was, you know, skinheads and punk rockers, and everybody's fighting each other. It seemed like everybody's walking around with a bloody nose, you know, and like it was just exciting. And then the music along with that just kind of opened up a whole, you know, I just thought it was the coolest thing, seeing people play music, you know.
Well,
It's go on, sorry.
no, I was gonna say go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, you get more. I still get excited to see people play music, but it's different now, you know.
Hmm. Well, and I was gonna say you grew up um, surrounded by Christian music because I believe you grew up around in the church.
Mm.
But your parents though were hippies from the '60s and '70s, so you ended
They
up
were.
getting a kind of a eclectic mix of music in your house.
Yeah, my parents were total hippies. My dad was in bands when he was younger, and he, you know, cool as hell, uh, you know, and my mom, you know, she was pretty wild when she was younger, you know. I don't want to say too much online because I don't want to get her in trouble, but I'm sure the statute of limitations is probably good. But you know, yeah, and they met, and then you know it was during that time where Jesus was a big thing, and so Jesus and hippies and all that. I don't know how that happened, but whatever. People are weird, dude.
Well, and I was gonna say because I mean you grew up on Christian music, but you still got like Crosby, Stills and Nash, Hendrix, and the Beatles.
Yeah.
So I mean, what was it like getting to listen to those influences? Because I'm guessing that still has an impact on you today.
Yeah, I mean, me and my dad would listen to Jimi Hendrix because I had this, I hated going to school. Like, I hated it. I remember second, third grade, I walked home from school. Just luckily, my mom was home. I was like, I ain't going back there, and I fought it until high school, you know, and it just so I would go to work with my dad, and and we would listen to Hendrix, we would listen to the Beatles, you know, like the early Beatles pop stuff, like you know, uh, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and just stuff like that. And that's what really kind of sparked my attention for like catchy music, like hooks and harmonies and guitar parts, you know, and you know we'd listen to. I remember my dad just blaring "Hey Joe" in the work van, you know, and it's just the coolest sounding guitar, in my opinion. To hear Hendrix play, you're just like, what is this, you know? And yeah, it was. And then you know, I did grow up in church, but by the time I was able to buy my own music, you know, I was just like buying everything, you know.
Well, and I think I read where you pinpointed seeing the Guns N' Roses "Welcome to the Jungle" video as a life changing moment where you're like, I think I want to do that. I want to do music.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I watched it at a buddy of mine's house down the street, and this it was my best friend when I was a kid, Phil, and me and him had a lot of fun when we were kids. You know, he was a pretty funny dude, and but he had this little TV in the basement, and I seen that video. I remember it was a dark room. All you could see was like the glow from the TV. I can picture it right now, and yeah, it changed my life.
But I mean, I love that that video had an impact on you. You know, because you know you had that punk rocker energy, but then you eventually found country music, right?
Yeah, I was 18, and I've always liked, you know, hearing country music. You know, I mean, it was that time era where um, that stuff was still really cool, you know, and and I bought. I think I I either came across the Paycheck like greatest hits or something, when I was around 18, and I just wore that tape out, and then I just started diving into it, and it kind of took off from there. And then you start to see like different offshoots of country music, like alternative country, and so you listen to that, and you're like, man, that's really cool. It's a little like punk rock, but also a little like I can vibe with it, and it's like I don't know.
I was gonna say, well, especially nowadays, I feel like there's a lot of lanes that are country adjacent, or at least have the country undertones of the good stories, but maybe a little more rock in there. And um, you talk about finding kind of that country music. Is it true you left home when you were about 17 or 18 to kind of? You said I'm guessing that goes back to you had enough of
How you
school.
know all this, dude?
I have ways. I have ways.
Jeez, oh Pete, the internet. Uh, yeah, I did. I moved out early. I moved out. I dropped out of school, and I was like, this has never been my thing, And I went to work. I left school, went to work for a brick mason, and out in Boone County, and it kind of started me down, whatever. And then I started to dive into like more folk country music, in my early 20s. Yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that. I did want to mention I dropped out of school though. I felt like that was really important. I'm
Well, I was
just
gonna
kidding.
say you fought it long, and you fought a good fight, and then you finally were like, I gotta go at least live my life.
It ain't for me, and I'm fine. I wouldn't suggest it for anybody, but I'm okay.
I was gonna say, at the end of the day, hard work, no matter what. And I guess that again, the internet, you got to watch. I read where you like to. Do you still like to get up early? Because I read somewhere where you like to get up like before the crack of dawn to get up and get at it.
Jeez, dude, I swear you're outside my house right now. No, I do wake up really early. It's the only time I get really by myself, and so recently I haven't even been setting alarm. I set the alarm, but I've been waking up hour before I wake up. I've been setting my alarm for 4:30, but find myself waking up at 3:30 or 4, just because I can't lay there anymore. I'm just I don't know what it is. I just have to get up, and so I just get up and start.
Now, do you stay up late, or are you a morning person by trade then?
No, this is we're currently at 17 minutes past my bedtime right now. So
Well, I appreciate you staying up late. I had to get my daughter to bed first, so I
hey,
appreciate that.
all good. I got an 11-year-old, and he's upstairs probably wanting to come out and hang out, but he's in bed.
Well, and you know, you talk about kind of you did your own thing. You eventually were doing some odd jobs, you work brick mason it and stuff like that. When did music become a career thought? Like when did that picture come into focus, and that was something you wanted to do?
Uh, you know what? It was never a thought like a career. Like, oh, I'm gonna. It was. That's always been kind of like a dream, right? Just to play music and make some money and hang out. But I mean, I still work at 40. It's not like I'm making gold records or anything. I'm just hustling, and so yeah, I don't know. It would be nice. It's more of a dream than a reality at this point. So that's where I'm at with it. I cut grass for a living, It's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. You got some million streams or whatever. It's like, yeah, cool, yeah, whatever.
Which, if folks don't know, that does not translate to much these days on Spotify or any of them. You don't make the big bucks off of just a few streams anymore. And you talk about being able to do you're still doing the full time job, but you've been able to put out multiple albums. Your first album, OHKY, the Ohio Kentucky thing, came out in 2014. and your latest album, Decades, was about 10 years later. What's your journey been like during that whole time? I mean, because obviously we've had a few different things happen in life for everyone, but what's that journey been like for you from that first one to this one?
It's been difficult. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's just, I mean, anybody that plays music and tours knows that it's just hard, and it's hard on me. It's hard on everybody. I wish I was in a more positive place about it, but it's just difficult, and it's insanity, really. But I don't know if people, you just got this thing, you gotta get it out, and it's like, I don't know what that is. I wish I could turn it off, but it's just the darndest thing. It just keeps rearing its ugly head.
Well, and you keep sharing songs, so it just keeps
Yeah,
on going.
yeah, for sure.
Well, and on
Is that
on
a straw?
Decades,
Was that a
yeah,
straw?
yes, I also have my bourbon, and I got my Coke Zero, so
Okay,
I'm
cool. Hey,
dual purpose tonight.
it's a good night tonight.
I got to pace myself.
Stay hydrated.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I said, your latest album, Decades, is out now. You dropped it at the end of October. How'd you decide on the title? Where does that come from? Why'd you want to call it Decades?
Just because it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Like, this hustle is like, you play the guitar and it's just a hustle. It's a long hustle. So, and it's been decades. So it only made sense.
Well, and I feel like on this album too, compared to some of your other ones, a little more melody on it. Kind of that big melodic songs that you talk about serious things though. So what did the idea? How did you formulate the idea for this project? Did things just kind of come together? Was it multiple songs? What was your vision?
I had like 13 songs, and I knew that I had plenty of time to sit down and write, and I knew I was going to record with Shooter, and I just had a bunch of songs together, and it just, I don't intentionally write songs to put songs together or anything. It's whatever's written is going to be recorded, and whatever on the recording lines up, then that's what decided to go on a record. And so I had 13 songs, and we recorded all 13, cut 3, and everybody was in agreement. It was really cool when we got done. Shooter and I were listening, and we both agreed on the same 3 songs that shouldn't be on there, and it was, that's kind of like just things lining up, and that was just one of the many things that have lined up in this whole situation with, being able to make that record, and just the people involved, and just it just all seemed like it was just like, this is it. We didn't have to fight for anything, or, it was perfect.
I was,
So,
I was, I was gonna say, what was it like working with Shooter? Because I mean, you entrusted him because you admired his ability to kind of blend country and other genres together. He's worked with a variety of folks. So what was it like to work with him? Because like you said, it sounded like you guys were on the same page. Things just were meant to be. How'd that collaboration go on this record?
uh, it was kind of nerve-wracking because I had never met Shooter, and I've just always been a big fan. So it's like, imagine going from listening to his records in your basement, and then he's standing like right there, and he's just the nicest human being, and it was a great time working with him. I would like I would like to work with him again because I feel like we know each other a little bit more, and it's always when you know what I'm saying? It's always like, it was like being dropped in a pool of cold water or something. You're like, but but we got great stuff, and the musicians lined up. The drummer Patrick Keeler plays drums for the Raconteurs and plays drums for Jack White. He just happened by chance to run into Shooter, and Shooter said, "Hey, I got this gig coming up," and Patrick looked me up, and he's like, "Oh, this guy's from where I'm from," and so Patrick ended up coming playing on the record, and that's he's just such a great guy, and we ended up like having a good time, and a bunch of just everything just lined up. You know what I'm saying? We didn't do nothing; it just fit together. So.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, working with guys like Patrick and Ted Russell Camp and John and Chris and Eleanor and all of those folks on things. I mean, like you said, you got to work with Shooter, but you got to work with a pretty good grouping of
So many
musicians too.
incredible musicians. Like, yeah, it was an incredible experience. I went out there and didn't take anybody with me. I just went out there by myself, and I was like, you know what, this is I want to make Shooter's record, so I'm going to use his band, his guys, whatever. And so that's what I did.
Well, the record turned out fantastic, which is part of the reason why we're talking. I know we're both in Kentucky, but good
Yeah.
music brings together for a good conversation. And um, I think Shooter also pushed you to record, if I'm correct, your vocals in real time, performing alongside those musicians. So what was that like? Because I'm guessing that's a little different than maybe how you've done it before.
No, I like cutting my vocals like that. I like
Okay.
cutting live. I have done records where you sing separate, you know, uh,
Hmm.
but I always feel more comfortable. I feel like the energy's there, and you can always get emotion and just that live setting. It's just, for me, I like to be in the song with the musicians. Um, it just creates good art.
I agree. Like I said, the record turned out great, and when we're looking at the songs, the very first song really lends itself to your days, where your family's from, the church setting and things like that, where you kind of go down that biblical story, and you have that very powerful line, Jesus never shows up, but the devil always does. What was it like recording Barabbas and kicking it off with that?
Uh, so, uh, I wasn't like that was like the last song I wanted to record. Like I wasn't even interested in that song, and I just wrote it just to keep busy. It was like at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was just trying to stay busy, and I think I came up with the first line, and I was just started adding to it, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll like use. And I tried to go in order throughout the Bible, and obviously you gotta skip over a bunch of stuff. And then you can't throw it all in. That'd be the longest song ever. and the most boring and exciting song ever. Uh, but shooters thought I should record it, and so yeah, we cut that one, and it turned out good. So I
And
don't
why was
know,
that one?
huh?
I was gonna say, why was that one you wanted to lead off the record with too?
It just made sense. Like when you get back all the tracks and you kind of starting to piece the record together and see what fits where. It just seems like that was the proper one to open up with. And then I think Too Much Sugar comes in right after that. Trying to let everybody chill out for a second and then ramp it up a little bit. You
I like
gotta,
it.
there's like a flow to it. You gotta,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and I was gonna say, my one of my favorite songs off the album, maybe my favorite, is "Too Much Sugar," which you've said addresses the cravings and crutches of the modern world, which maybe is why I'm enjoying a Coke Zero tonight.
Mhm.
Um, but what inspired to kind of write that type of song and kind of give it a maybe a little play on words to folks that aren't paying close enough attention?
Yeah, I just like there was just so much going on. I wrote it like during pandemic times and everything leading up to that, and you know, I just was like everything just seems so silly, and it's just like let's just have a good time and like talk about things, and I guess I was just kind of running different ideas through my head of what was going on. I was like, I'm just gonna have some fun with it. And then my wife came home and she worked with this lady at her work. She works at the Kenton County Jail with the SAP program and like people getting reentry, like back, substance abuse and stuff like that. And she worked with this lady named Tina. And Rachel came home laughing one day to tell me that Tina bought a Mustang. And I was like, oh, Tina bought a Mustang. I was like, dude, that's hilarious. I was like, I'm going to add that in the song, and just to kind of just have fun. And it sounded fun. It was cool, And then the second half of that verse is a little more serious, Um, I don't know. So, yeah. Thanks for listening to that song. It seems like you listened to it.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, it's one of my favorites off the album. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. Another one that I've really enjoyed is "Save You," which kind of maybe a little more Heartland country rocker type feel to it. How did that one come about? Because that tells kind of an autobiographical story about a long lost love dealing with tragedy and addiction.
That story's 100% true. That's not like everything about that song's true. That's not a story I just wrote. But what was cool about that was I had 12 songs demoed out, and then like I had to send the demos to Shooter or to his manager, and then to Shooter, and then the night before I was sending them, I was working on that song, and I'd finished it and sent it to my manager. I was like, I'm thinking about throwing this song on there, and it was "Save You," just acoustic, and and he's like, what the heck, dude? Like, why? Where did that, like, and so I ended up putting that with the demos and sending that also. I'll have to go back and listen to that because it's just one of those phone recordings, like the
Hmm.
voice memos. But it's somewhere on my phone, the original um, recording. So
And I'm guessing then when you finally put it all, full production and all that, it just made sense. I'm guessing Shooter loved that one too.
uh, yeah, I think so. I think so. It was cool because I always heard it like an '80s banger, like Jesse's Girl or Summer of '69, like that kind of vibe. Dude, I thought I had like crumbs on my shirt, and I was like super embarrassed. But I got this my Rod Gator shirt on, and it's got like a little.
A
This whole
little
time I've
splatter
been like,
pattern.
dude, this whole time I've been like, Jeremy, you look like an idiot. You got crumbs on your shirt.
No,
uh,
no, it's just a style. It's just a
just
style, you
yeah,
know.
it's hip.
Well, and you talk about kind of those songs like Jesse's Girl and stuff, and then you've got a track that's a little rootsy, little rockabilly type, and that's Dallas. What is it true that that was inspired by a poorly attended gig in Houston that one
Dude,
person showed up and prayed for you or
are
with
you
you?
the only one that does your homework? You know more
I
about
love
it than
doing
me.
I love going down the rabbit hole.
You should be my personal historian, dude. I will pay you $5 a month to write this stuff down. Uh, no, it was a guy named Eldred showed up, and he was the only guy there. There was like some few bar staff, and then a couple people that knew the bar staff, that come in. But it was right after the hurricane in Houston,
Hmm.
and we were leaving. We were in Texas, and the next day we drove in and the day before they had the highway shut down because of the hurricane. So the next day we go into town, and I mean there's still water on the ground, and it was so humid, and it felt like it just rained, and then Eldred shows up, watches the whole show, and I had a really good friend with me at the time, a guy named Terry Rickards down in Nashville, and he and we could have been real shitty about it. We could have been like, what the, we're not gonna play this, like, but Terry was like straight up said, just go do, like, play a great show, and we did, and we played a great show, and then some of the bar staff bought merch, and then the two people that knew the bar staff bought merch, and then I don't know if Eldred bought anything because Christians are cheap, and he just, no, I'm kidding. I think he did buy stuff, but but he asked me, after the show, he walked up, and we were touring so much, and so I was wore out, and he asked if he could pray for me, and I was like, oh, jeez, dude, I don't want to do this, like, I'm not a kid anymore. I don't need hands putting on me and praying, but I was like, you know what? I probably fucking need it. So I said, yeah. Go ahead, And yeah, that's that was the second half of the first verse, I think. The first line in the verse, she's a bad old bitch. She got a beat up car. She's a bad old bitch. I seen this old girl sitting at a stoplight, and she had this junked out car, but she had 2 or 3 kids in this car, and she looked like you did not want to mess with this girl. You know what I'm saying? She looked like she was like a real ride or die, like she's the girl that you hide the bodies with, and it just kind of got my brain going like, oh, she's a bad old bitch, and I was like, damn, man, she got a beat up car, so I just threw it together.
I love it. Well, and for you, because you pretty much write every song yourself. The whole album was written by you. Why is it something that you do? Because not everyone does it. A lot of people maybe co-write every song or something like that. But you personally have your hands on everything on the lyrics.
I just always done it that way. I don't know any other way. So it's, maybe I should try.
Well, it's working for you.
It's not working great, but it is working.
Well, and, too, as we've talked through some of the songs, clearly things are inspired by things you've gone through, you've seen. I think you've, quote, you like to stretch the truth a little bit. You're a storyteller with your lyrics, but, you also tend to just sing about what you know. I mean, what's it like when you're going through that songwriting process? I mean, because clearly you're pulling from a lot of things that you see and have lived.
For me, it's just like, I don't know if it's difficult. Sometimes it gets emotional when people get emotional, but other than that, I just feel like people connect with real stuff, and if you don't, you like pop music's great, pop country, whatever anybody wants to do is great, because people connect with different things, and there's something for everybody, but for me personally, I just feel like I want to connect with somebody. I want to connect with an artist. I want an artist to write something that touches me, like I can feel. You ever feel something, like you listen to a song, you can feel it, It's weird, isn't it? And just like this heavy weight in your chest. And just might be a bad diet, too. You never know. But that's what I want out of a musician. That's what I want out of someone that paints or someone that, writes poetry or whatever,
I was gonna say it's real stuff, and people really do connect with that, and they can see themselves in the song, and I think that's what I love about music, especially good music, that those stories can it doesn't matter what genre it is, if it's a good true story that people can believe in, the music can transport them somewhere, and it's pretty cool when that happens.
Yeah, I agree.
And is it also true, because like you said, you've been on the road a good bit, or at least at times have been on the road a good bit. What's the best part about being on the road, and are you still doing the 100 and some odd shows a year, or have you calmed down a little bit?
Yeah, we've scaled back quite a bit, and it's good. My son's 11 now, and so, he needs somebody yelling at him, and how am I supposed to yell at him if I'm not at home, And, it's just, I'm getting older too. I don't want to be sitting in a tour van all day. I like traveling. I like being with my friends. My favorite part of touring is just hanging out with your buddies, cutting it up, and that 45 minutes you're on stage, I mean, that's great. It's cool. But the best part is like hanging out. And like there's just this camaraderie, this just like you're out in some new place every night, and I always come back home and I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And then 2 weeks or a month or 2 months, I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Got to get back in that van.
It's not that my life's terrible here, because it's great. It's just something inside of me I just want to go,
Well, and I believe after the album came out, you got to play a hometown show as well. Then you went out with I believe if I'm correct, a friend of the show, Jason Boland, who we've had on. What was it like hitting on tour with him and being able to also kick off November with a show in Northern Kentucky?
The show here was great. I'm always surprised that people show up, and it was really nice that people showed up. And then immediately, almost a few days later, got to go hit the road with Jason. And, I am just, I don't even know how to, like, express how grateful I am to be, like, front seat every night to see a real class musician, world-class musician, songwriter, and to be there and get to witness that every night. It's just the most amazing thing. And then just to be able to talk to Jason and just his kindness and it's just a great example of like how you want to be in the music business, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of respect for him, and he's been very kind to me, and I don't forget that, So
he was a blast. Literally, when we when we recorded our episode, he was just in the front seat of the van talking while they were driving to a different show, and it was just so cool to get to chat with him, and then just I know he's got a heck of a fan base that follows, and I'm hoping a few of them found you too.
Yeah, he's such a smart dude. I always feel like a 2-year-old around him, because he's like, he's got a brain about him, and I'm just, I'm a Neanderthal, dude. I just,
You've got a lot going on for you. Don't forget that.
Hey.
Well, and we talk about, you love the camaraderie when you're out on tour and doing things, but when you're up on stage, because like I said, it's one thing to create the songs, put those songs out. It's another to share those and make those connections like you talked about. That's what you want to see in a musician. And what's it like for you to be on stage sharing those songs with folks and, seeing them connect with you?
I mean, it's a great feeling. I mean, when people, engage with the artist, whether it be singing their songs with them or clapping or dancing or or just being quiet and listening. Like, there's so many different, but it's always great. But I tell you what, it doesn't beat hanging out with your family or your son, Like, the music's great, but, and being with people is great, but, there's
a balance to it all.
100%. Yes,
I,
sir.
and I love to start off, the show with what's your go-to drink, and I love that yours is chocolate milk. I love that about you. And I love to finish up or at the very end ask this one because it's always interesting to see what everyone says. And it's what is your favorite song of yours to perform live right now?
Um, that's a tough one. I guess it would be uh, Barabbas. I was really kind of hesitant about like how that song would work out in like a band setting, like a stage setting, because I've only performed it on the record. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So by the time me and the band got together, I had to like basically relearn these songs. I didn't know, but that was the most exciting. That like when we played it, I was like, oh, this sounds great. This is awesome. And but so now currently that's my favorite one to play. So
Well, I love that because I feel like live when people go, like I said, it's one thing to listen to the record. It's a whole different experience when you get to see someone perform it live because to me, those songs can take on a new life, live. It could have a slightly different arrangement or just a different way it's presented. And it's always cool to see what everyone's answers are on that one.
for sure, yeah, yeah.
And, you put out decades at the end
Uh-huh.
of the year.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, by the time this drops, there'll be like 2 days left in 2025. So I know what you're doing in 2025. At the end, you're probably hanging out with family, enjoying the
100%.
holidays.
Yeah.
So, what though can you tell us that's going to happen in 2026 that won't get you in trouble? What can folks expect from you in 2026?
Ooh, man, I don't even. We're like in this downtime period for the holiday, so I get a couple emails of some ideas. Um, I hate the. I don't really. I know we're gonna try to go over to Europe next year. I know we'll be touring the United States here and there. Somebody breaking in your house.
The cat. The
The cat
cat.
broke in.
Yep, the cat is in the studio slash guest bedroom,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure what's happening.
it's nighttime.
Yes. So Europe, tour around the U.S., maybe
Right.
some
Yeah.
places.
Yep. And I don't really. Who knows? I know it'll be a good year. So
I love it, and just follow you on social media to stay tuned and see what's happening. Right.
TikTok, just all I do is TikTok. I'm just kidding. Follow, yeah, all that stuff. I guess.
All that fun stuff that you just have to do
Oh, it's so much
nowadays.
fun that musicians love that. That's all we
Oh man,
wanted to do was sing into our phones.
and share everything about yourself.
I love it.
Oh man, well Jeremy, man, this has been a blast. Thank you
Yes,
for staying
sir.
up well past your bedtime. I truly appreciate that.
Well, man, it's almost
Um,
9:30, bro.
I know I was gonna say we're like 45 minutes past, so I
Yeah.
truly appreciate that. And also, man, thank you for making some good music.
Thank
And
you.
cheers, man, cheers.
Cheers. Oh yeah. You're not supposed to cheers with water, but
Yeah, we'll allow. It.
we're
Cheers.
on the internet. It doesn't matter.